everyone. Welcome back to a revised and updated Dante DC3 Pro training sessions. So this one is we're going to talk today about our Dante, how to navigate it, how to route, what that looks like. So a little more complicated of a thing, a little more in depth, but we want to make sure that you guys are equipped with the knowledge that you need to be successful in our DC3 Pro broadcasting realm. All right, so let's jump right into it. So we're looking at Dante first. So Dante is our routing program. Basically, it's how you get your signals from the SQ7 to our broadcast board. So the way that we do that is indicated by the SQ7 runs into our our inputs run into the SQ7. Then out from the SQ7, it runs into our processing, which is on our Wave Super Rack here on our Logic computer. As you can see, it has all of our channels that we need from the computer, and they're all labeled. If you look, kick in, everything is labeled, everything that you need to know. So that's all there. So the Super Rack is going to look with this green button down here on the bottom of the bar. So sometimes the bar should always be up. So whenever you need to find Super Rack, you're going to look for this Super Rack Performer, hover over it, and it'll show you. But it is the green circle with the S and the R in it. So make sure that's open. Sometimes it may say, hey, it crashed, or would you like to open up a new save? Just go ahead and select yes, and then open up the most recent file. If not, you're going to look for main session 2.0. You can open the session here. Do I want to save current? Yeah, I'll save the current session. Now you can look underneath our sessions. It'll open right up to it, and then you will select main 2.0 and then open. And then we won't worry about that. And yeah, so it does autosave. So even if it does exit out, it has already autosaved. Now, to get into Dante, we have to open up our Dante controller. First, actually, you want to make sure, sorry, let's open up the Dante controller. All right, so now that you know about Super Rack, let's move into how to access Dante, which is where you get your inputs. Now, for you guys, if you've used our SQ7, this is basically just like you're routing the SQ7, essentially. On the I/O ports, if you do any of our routing, that's where it's the same exact kind of way. So we want to look for our Dante controller, which that is going to be our square here. Looks like a square with some network, a bunch of things go into a box here. So you want to select this. Next to it is our Dante virtual sound card, which first you have to make sure that this is running. So you want to make sure this is on 6464, 4 milliseconds of latency, and then Ethernet is EN0. You'll see network status is 1 gigabyte and 9, and then your IP address right here. So make sure that's on. Then you go to Dante controller. We'll let that load up. All right, now with Dante controller open, if everything is working correctly, when you select your routing tab, you'll see all your Dante devices. So currently, because the SQ7 is off as well as the Ableton Mac, you will not see the Ableton Mac or the SQ7. So, but you can see when we go to, you can see you have a transmitter here and you have a receiver. So the transmitter is where it's sending the signal. So these are the outputs. The receivers will be your inputs. So I can look at the broadcast. Well, we'll look at the main logic first. I can look at where main logic is getting its inputs from. If I press the plus button here, open that up, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on upwards to 64 channels. Right? So if you look, these are all have the triangle, like the warning sign. If you read, it says subscription status is unresolved. It cannot find this channel on the network, meaning that it can't find the SQ7, essentially, because it's getting the channel from the SQ7. It can't locate it. Now you can see what our logic is transmitting. If you go up to transmitters, press the plus button, or you can open them all up if you like. So you can see what the SQ6 is transmitting to. SQ6 is currently not transmitting to anything. And then we're looking over here, and currently there's nothing transmitting to, or actually, I'm sorry, you can see what's transmitting, but we need to open up our, you can basically, I'm sorry, you can see your inputs along the top here. So we can also see what we're transmitting. We can see that the broadcast SQ6 is a transmitter, which is the outputs. We can see that the main logic is also an output. So if you open up the transmitter, you can actually see we've labeled here all of our, it needs to be updated, but we've labeled all of our channels along the top here. It looks like some of them do need to be updated. So what you can do is you can actually go into, if you select the SQ6, yep, you'll open up a window here. You see that you have your receiving channel, so it's receiving the kick, the snare top, snare bot, tom 1, tom 3, and so on and so forth. Now, we do need to relabel these. These need to be updated. So what we can do is we would go here, take your mouse, and we'll type in kick, right? So label it. You can press the tab button. That goes to the next one. Next one is kick in mic. Tab, snare top, snare bot, and so on and so forth. And then we'll go through and label all of them and all that fun stuff. So the transmitter, you can also label what signals are being transmitted. Currently, the main left and right, which is what we were running, we have those labeled as we will sometimes run the main left and right out from the broadcast. But as of current, we're running the main left and right going out to, no, I'm sorry, we are running it to the stream. So if you select, so as you can see, you have a transmitter and you have the receiver. Now, you can locate, if you see these plus buttons, all this means is that you're selecting what is transmitting to what is receiving. So if I am transmitting the broadcast, or if I'm transmitting main logic, which we are, to the broadcast SQ6, I'm going to look for where the main logic is the transmitter and the broadcast SQ6 is the receiver. And so I'm going to find that plus where they overlap. If I select that plus, you can see all these channels are lit up green, which means that both devices are communicating with each other and they are both getting their signals. So as you can see, we're getting all 64 channels. As we are running the majority, some of these plugins we're running through the broadcast, so we're doing inserts, which we can get into a little later. So same thing with the SQ6, right? The the front of house to our main logic, or we can call it super rack is what we should call it. So I'm actually going to rename this. We're going to call this our super rack. We're going to apply that, call that our super rack. That'll reset it. Then same thing. So it's just going to say super rack. If you look, it's going to start connecting. It's waiting for the subscription to reconnect from super rack to broadcast SQ6. It's just resetting right now because we had to restart the device in order to reconnect it, which is totally fine. Oh, excuse me. So that's the basic gist. Again, this is just your main hub for inputs and outputs. The biggest important thing is that we have our inputs and outputs labeled. So we will work on getting that labeled for you. And that way you can match up. Those should consistently match up with our soundboard here. Now, it will not match up with the Vox. So if you look on the receiver for the SQ6, on here you're going to see Vox 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. This will not have names. So like you normally do on a week, go find your names, go match them up, and then type them on the SQ, just like the normal procedure. All right, and that is it for the basic gist of Logic. You also have like device info. You can see the versions, the primary IP addresses, what their link speed is, 1 gig, so on and so forth. The clock status, which just means that right now everything is following the SQ6, which it will follow the SQ7 when the SQ7 is turned on. You can see that the network is working correctly. The event, no events. It's just telling you what's happening. So, but the most important factor that you need to know is where the routing. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention. There are preset saved functions. So there are basically Dante is saved as a file, your controller. So what you'll need to do is if we have pre-save files already for the setup. So we have a main setup where it sends the SQ7 into main logic, which sends into the broadcast SQ6. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go up to File. You're going to go into Load Preset, or you can use Command L. We're going to look for our main setup. So you want to select this. That will, as soon as we open this, that will route all of our, it's got a preset role, everything that you need. So if you press Select and press OK, it's going to be applying the main preset. It's going to take a second to load, so we'll just give it a second to let that load. All right, we are back, and our preset has been loaded up. So what we're going to do is we're going to press, after that's done, we're going to just press OK. And now we'll see all of our routing is preset now. So you'll see our main left and right is going from broadcast 6. Main logic is going to the broadcast. Bam. Everything looks good. All right. And basically that's all you need to do. And then the preset, if something isn't working correctly, like if you're not getting audio from ProPresenter, what you can also check is make sure that SuperRack is open, because even if the routing is correct and you've done the preset, you have to make sure SuperRack is open. Otherwise, you will not get your signals. So always make sure that SuperRack is open and that you have loaded up your main preset. If there is a change, don't hesitate to ask. And if there is a change, then just look for that same. Generally speaking, your main logic preset will be set to where it opens up. So, all right, that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, email me, call me, text me. So, yeah, or text whoever's in charge. So, thank you guys so much for sticking it out. Be on the lookout for more training videos as we go along. If you have any questions, please submit those questions to me, and we can make videos on that. That would be great.